It was a cold, overcast afternoon in the heart of the city, and the streets were bustling with the usual rush of people trying to go about their business. Commuters heading home, office workers catching up on last-minute tasks, tourists snapping photos of the towering buildings. The air felt crisp and biting, the kind of cold that gets into your bones and makes everything feel a little more distant, a little more detached. Amidst the noise and haste, there was one person who stood out in stark contrast to the hurried crowd. A beggar, his clothes worn and tattered, his face lined with years of hardship, shuffled slowly down the sidewalk. He had been on the streets for days, perhaps even weeks, trying to survive on the generosity of passers-by, but it seemed as though his luck had run out. His feet ached, his stomach growled in hunger, and the cold wind bit through his thin coat, sending shivers down his spine. Most people avoided eye contact, quickening their pace whenever they saw him, as though the sight of his plight was too much to bear. Some gave him a coin or two, but most simply walked on by, immersed in their own lives. The beggar had learned long ago that the world was a hard, indifferent place. Yet, as he stumbled into a small, modest cafe tucked in between two tall office buildings, something unexpected happened. Inside the cafe, the warmth was a welcome relief, the smell of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods filling the air. It was a small establishment, with just a few tables and chairs, but it had a cozy, inviting atmosphere, one that felt like an oasis in the middle of the concrete jungle. The sound of quiet chatter, the clink of cups, and the soft hum of background music provided a sense of calm that the beggar had not felt in a long time. He hesitated at the entrance for a moment, unsure if he should enter. He didn't want to be a bother, didn't want to intrude on a space that didn't seem meant for someone like him. He was aware of his appearance, of how dirty his hands were, and how ragged his clothes looked. He felt the sting of shame rise in his chest as he stood there, almost paralyzed by the thought that no one would want him in their cafe. But before he could turn away, a voice broke through his hesitation. "Can I help you?" the voice asked, warm and welcoming. He looked up, startled, to see a young waitress standing before him, a kind smile on her face. She had dark hair pulled back into a neat ponytail, and her eyes were bright, filled with a genuine curiosity rather than judgment. There was no sign of distaste or discomfort on her face, just a simple, human warmth that seemed almost out of place in the busy city. The beggar stammered, his words coming out in a low, rasping voice. I don't have any money," he said, almost apologetically, as though he were somehow unworthy of asking for anything. "I just need a place to sit, maybe to warm up." The waitress, Maria, didn't skip a beat. She had seen people like him come and go, some asking for a cup of coffee, others just needing a quiet moment to gather themselves, but there was something different about this man. Something about the way he stood there, looking so fragile and lost, tugged at her heart. Maria had grown up in the city, and over the years, she had learned to recognize the weariness in people's eyes, the quiet desperation that often went unnoticed. She had also learned that it was easy to ignore the pain of others when you were focused on your own problems. But today, Maria felt that something needed to be done. Without hesitation, she smiled again, her voice soft but sincere. "You don't need to pay," she said. "Would you like some soup? We have some freshly made vegetable soup. I can bring you a bowl, no charge." The beggar's eyes widened, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. 39338.